Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Today is Wednesday, August 21st, and Bitcoin is flirting with $60,000. It's still stuck in that range. However, not to worry. The bigger the base, the bigger the break, as they say. Eventually, inshallah, we will get liftoff. In this live, I'm going to try and answer a question that I get very frequently, which is what is the best time to buy? And obviously, we, as always, will back our answer with data. So without further ado, let's get started. This is not financial advice, so be sure to do your own due diligence and leave a like. Really appreciate that. Let's aim to get this live to 100 likes. If you're not a member, become a PIF member so that you can follow our trades move for move, gain additional insights into different stocks and cryptos that we follow, and learn how to fish for yourself by becoming an elite member and gaining access to our course. All right, so the big news today in the markets was that the payroll growth was actually overestimated. The data misrepresented the actuality of the labor market in the US. To the tune of 818,000 jobs. So the economy was not doing as well as we previously thought. And this is where or when dependency on data can kill, as the Fed has stated many times that it is data dependent, it's data dependent. Well, when that data is wrong, then you come out with the wrong conclusions. And in the case of the Fed, they may have waited too long to initiate monetary easing based on this. And so the market may be kind of nervous with regards to, the future of the economy, the state of the economy, prospects of a recession. And so I'm expecting the Fed chair in the Jackson Hole comments that he makes on Friday to be dovish and to give a clear signal that he is ready to start cutting. Now, in other news related to the market, and perhaps the most asinine policy proposal I've heard from either candidate yet, as it relates to the economy at least, Kamala Harris is apparently a fan of Biden's plan to tax unrealized gains. So this would mean, if you had a stock position that was up 50%, but you haven't sold, you would still be taxed on that. This is an insane proposal, and it's a proposal that only a country that is bankrupt or on the verge of bankruptcy would even consider seriously. These are, the thoughts of, of basically a desperate government. The fact of the matter is, at this point, we should be asking ourselves, why are we paying any tax at all, since they're printing money at the rate that they are printing it? And the taxes that we are paying are such a small fraction of overall government debt, of the interest that we are accruing on that debt. It's such a small fraction. If you look at the indebtedness of the United States, and you can see it there's a live tracker, and you can see the number is constantly going up. And it's only in April that number goes down for like a couple weeks, and then it resumes going up again. And those couple weeks are basically the revenues that the government is collecting. So the taxes that they're collecting from people aren't really making a dent in anything. So at this point, we shouldn't be thinking about more taxes. We should be thinking about less taxes and a systemic change, a root cause analysis for the financial situation that we are in, rather than, oh, maybe we can solve it with additional taxes, which is, as I mentioned, an insane quite daft proposal. And this has been tried in other places. So Norway expected from enacted an unrealized unrealized gains tax, and they expected to get 150 million in additional tax revenue, but it caused 54 billion in wealth to flee the country. And now, obviously, if something like this were to actually be enacted, a tax like this, we would see. I mean, I would be the first person to move my money out of the United States, and I'm sure I will be uh, one of many, many, many others who do the same, including corporations and anyone with anything to their name. So, yeah, on the upside, I don't think that there's any chance that this law would actually pass. Um, the fact of the matter is, Kamala Harris, her campaign, they have no solutions for uh, the government debt, but they're trying to act like they have some ideas. The fact of the matter is, the government is bankrupt, and only a complete overhaul of the monetary system will get us out of this. Um, now, depending on what you prioritize, it's either good news or bad news. But Trump, as per Polymarket as of today, is leading in his chances of winning. However, this percentage was reversed when I checked on it last week. So last week, Kamala was actually leading. So we're still very early. There's still a lot of twists and turns that we'll see in this election cycle. So um, it's anyone's race at this point. But tell your kids that they can be president too, because we're looking at Kamala Harris. I consider her. I know this is harsh, but she's an empty vessel. There's nothing there. There's nothing up there. There's no like thoughts, deep thoughts. There's nothing. It's just uh, you know. Just a completely unremarkable human being. And then you have Trump, who is a bona fide narcissist. So, who also I think is just uh, a less intelligent person's idea of what an intelligent person is. And slim pickings for the American people. But if these two knuckleheads can be the candidates for their respective parties for president, then anyone can be president. So tell your kids that they too can be president, regardless of their capabilities, because they can. Now, out of politics and into the markets. So Bitcoin has had a historical correlation with the NASDAQ. And right now, just going off of that correlation and the move of the NASDAQ, Bitcoin is actually undervalued. It's actually 1.5 standard deviations below where it should be. So, if you believe in this correlation and the fact that it will hold, then unless the NASDAQ falls dramatically, then Bitcoin should catch up to where the NASDAQ is based on its historical correlation. I personally think that with easing monetary policy, we'll likely see additional gains by the NASDAQ, and Bitcoin will outperform that and will largely hold its historical correlation. All right, so let's go to our main idea of this live, which is when to invest. So this is from a Schwab article that took a look at what would happen in a 20-year period with these different approaches to investing. So you have Peter Perfect. Now, Peter Perfect is someone, and it assumes with these 5 investors Peter, Ashley, Matthew, Rosie, and Larry, that each one of them starts every year of these 20 years with $2,000 to invest. Now, Peter, he is perfect in terms of picking the low in each year. So he invests his $2,000 every year at the lowest point in the market for that year. And Ashley, on the other hand, takes a much simpler approach. The moment so on the first trading day of each year, she invests the $2,000 that she has. Matthew divides his $2,000 into 12 equal portions. And so he dollar cost averages his investments. So he divides them into 12 equal portions, and he invests each portion every month. So he spreads his investment out over the entire year. Rosie has incredibly poor timing. So instead of Peter, who is picking the bottom of each year and invests on that day, Rosie invests on the very top of the market for that year. So every year, the top of the market is when Rosie puts her $2,000 in. And then Larry Linger, he's somewhat of a coward. He holds on to his money and, waiting for a dip to happen. He's always convinced that lower stock prices are just around the corner. So he holds on to his money. And so, if we want to look at what their results are, we can see Peter, obviously, is in the lead. So this is the person that picked the lowest point in the market for each year. So after 20 years, he has 138,000. But Ashley, and just as a reminder, Ashley is the one who invested on the first day, first trading day. So the first opportunity she got, she invested the entire 2,000. She only trailed Peter by around $10,000. So what Peter did in this hypothetical is impossible, right? But what Ashley did is actually quite possible. And she's because it doesn't require any effort. You just invest the first opportunity you have. She has $127,000 at the end of the 20-year period. And this is, by the way, taking a period between 2002 and 2022. And Matthew, the person who dollar cost averaged, is in the middle. Not too far behind Ashley. Very similar results. And similar results, by the way, to Peter, who actually times everything perfectly. Rosie, who actually picked the worst time of the year to invest and invested her money on that day, trails by a bit more than 20,000. So 25,000, let's say. So the difference between her and Ashley, who just invested, the first opportunity she got was around 15,000. The difference between her and her exact opposite, the person who was investing at the lowest point in the market for that year, is around 25,000 over 20 years. So it's a difference. No doubt it is a difference, but it's not a huge difference. It's not, life-changing amount difference. Larry, though, he's still with his cash and he's doing terribly, right? He's waiting. The reason why, it's 43,000 and not 40,000, 2,000 times 20. The reason why it's 43,000 is because they assumed that he had treasury bills, basically. So he was earning interest. So the point being that, trying to time the market perfectly is impossible. So Peter, this scenario is, especially 20 years in a row, this scenario is not going to happen. Now, what you can do is what Ashley did, which is the second best results, which is to have a bias towards investing earlier rather than later. And if you have if you're the type of person that you may feel very bad if you invested and the market dropped all of a sudden, then um, in order to avoid that possibility, you can be like Matthew and just spread out your investment over a period of time and dollar cost average your way into the market. But the worst thing to do is just to keep in cash, stay in cash, waiting for a dip in the market. As I mentioned yesterday, there's a lot more money lost waiting for a dip than in a dip, historically speaking. So don't be like Larry. Um, and so yeah, when you're thinking about, now I do think, as I mentioned yesterday, it's good idea to have some cash set aside. And this is, by the way, looking at if you want to answer the question, should I start investing now or not? Now, if you're following and you're thinking about investing in the market generally as a idea. Now, if we were talking about individual positions, then I think valuation matters. So it's important to understand the valuation of different companies. If you have a concentrated portfolio like we have with PIF portfolios, we have 3 or 4 positions in each portfolio, then you have to be mindful of valuation. But if you're just talking generally about the market and when you should start investing, because there's always opportunities in the market, as you know from our PIF watch list, there's always things that are rated as buys. If you're thinking about when generally you should start investing, well, the sooner the better. And I think the numbers support this. All right, so talking about individual positions very quickly. So big news here in the Bitcoin mining space, Bitfarms is going to buy Stronghold Digital for 165 million. Stronghold Digital popped 80%, close to 80% just on the day. And what's noteworthy is that Stronghold Digital has power capacity of around 165 megawatts. So 165 megawatts, they're going to be bought for 165 million. If you use this valuation, I mean, it's ballpark valuation. It's not very specific. There are other variables there, but I think it'll get you in the right ballpark, as I mentioned. So something, if you were going to value Iris Energy, for example, which has access to 3,000 megawatts and should expand that, then you would come to, at the same valuation, you would come to a valuation of 3 billion, which is around twice where it is right now. This is not to say the stock price will double, because there will be some dilution, but at the same time, there will be other factors that support an even higher valuation, I think, with the proper capex and increasing power capacity, Bitcoin mining capacity, etc. So this is very bullish for Bitcoin miners, and I shared this in our PIF Discord yesterday. So VanEck was doing its taking a look at Bitcoin miners, and it mentioned that miners are developing new AI business lines. We know that may command much higher valuations. So initially, when I got interested in Bitcoin miners, high performance computing, AI training was not on my radar. And now it seems that this opportunity has kind of fell into the lap of Bitcoin miners, and it's up to them to really take full advantage of this. If AI and high-performance computing comprise, according to VanEck, 20% of miner energy capacity by 2027, total additional profits could exceed 14 billion per year over 13 years. So that's very, very significant. I mean, this could really support the prices of the Bitcoin miners that take advantage of this. And that's why we're invested in the miners that we are. We think that they have this optionality to really take full advantage of this. Additionally, as PIF members know, a company that I've been quite bullish on is TSMC, and it does seem like it's dropping, Taiwan Semiconductors, that is. it does seem like it's working diligently to drop the T from its name. So, um, you know, one of my and many investors' big hesitations to buying this company initially was the fact that it was very concentrated in Taiwan, which is exposed to to one main geopolitical risk, that is the invasion of China, and it's working on dropping its concentration in that particular country. So it broke ground on a German plant. It's going to make an even bigger investment in Arizona, and it's looking at other places as well. So this is very bullish for the company, and it will for just for people who aren't familiar. TSMC manufactures the chips for Apple, for NVIDIA. So they get the designs. They have a foundry business model. They get the designs and from these companies, NVIDIA, Apple, others, and they actually manufacture it from those designs. They have a really good business, something that I've been trying to emphasize in my deep dives is, easy ways of making money, hard ways of making money. And it's important to put your money in companies that are pursuing easy ways of making money. Not that TSMC is in an easy field, but the margins that it has are really attractive. All right. And with that, if you'd like additional insights, additional deep dives into different companies, make sure that you become a PIF member before prices go up. As I mentioned, premium, you get access to our portfolios, our watch lists, our trades. Elite has the added benefit of getting access to our course and learning how to fish, as they say. All right, so let's go to questions very quickly. Was assalamu alaikum, nice to see you. Alaikum salam. Wayakum, inshallah, it's my pleasure. What are your thoughts on the 4% rule? Well, it all depends on what your expected return is for your portfolio. The higher the expected return, the more you can withdraw. So I think that the 4% rule may be conservative if you have something like what PIF has in terms of like our expected returns. Jewel Fakar says Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Chocolate says Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Adnan wa alaikum salam. Zuhair wa alaikum salam. Adnan asks about Amazon FBA. That's a topic for a different time. Chocolate says, if I remember correctly, public debt of country comes out to be 104,000. Yeah, I actually think per person. Yeah, actually might be more than that. Cleo says, what's your take on dogs? They're nice, and just don't have them in your house. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not familiar with that company, or maybe it's a crypto. Just not familiar. Sorry. Harris and the DNC is full of a lot of wishful thinking. Actually, it's I think you're giving them too much credit. I think it's devoid of much thinking. You're right about Trump. I think so. Best way to describe the candidates for American policy. Yeah, unfortunately, Salim. Is short selling halal? Well, I actually made a video about that. Check it out. Short answer is I don't think short selling is halal. Yeah, Larry is a coward. Assalamu alaikum, Arkan. I'm currently living in Norway. Should I consider leaving this country? I don't know why. Why would you ask me that? I'm not familiar. Inshallah, everything is okay and you're safe. Jay Perez says, Assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam. Thoughts on DCA, a small amount daily into BTC versus weekly or monthly using Coinbase? So I think I answered that. Hey, woohoo! First live. I'm glad you're here. Nice to see you. They're saying there's a pandemic or some horrible event. Well, there'll always be someone saying something like that. I try and not get in the business of predicting those events and focus on the data and acting accordingly, as I showed you guys what the data is. Did you get a hair transplant? Yes, I did. Monkeypox. Yeah. They're saying that may be a big thing. Who knows? Also, any tips or insights for someone who works in a field where they still get a pension? They also have 403b options. Is 403b worth putting money in? Any programs that are tax advantaged, I think, are worth looking into, and to the extent that there are palatable options, taking advantage of them. For trading Forex, there's a video on that as well. When you talk about keeping cash in hands, do you mean like actual cash or in a checking bank account? No, I'm talking about a bank account. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this live, leave a like. Until next time, make sure to take care of yourself. If you're not a PIF member, make sure to become one. Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you all.